Yes, everyone, I hope you're doing well. I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lines TV, and welcome to another news daily video. Now, for today's video, I'm going to be talking about a few stories. To start off with, I'll be talking about Loftus and his injury update. I'm going to be talking about the news surrounding Marcos Alonso and Atletico Madrid interest. I'll be talking about the future of Morata. I'll also be talking about the transfer ban, as well as the futures of Higuain and Kova. So if you guys like today's video, smash that like button, help me get more than 1,000 likes for today's video. Don't forget to press the bell notification button either. And in the cards above will be recommended videos for you guys. So if you do want more Blue Lines TV, you know where to find it. Now getting straight into the first story for today, that's in regards to Ruben and what's happening with his injury recently. Now, his operation has been successful, and Loftus did release a social media post just talking about how he's still confused about what's happened. His surgery is successful, and he's hoping that he does come back fitter and stronger. Now, if you don't know what's happened to Ruben, he has sustained an Achilles rupture, which it's not great, you guys. The tendon's ruptured, it's not good. They're saying that he's going to be out for up to 6 months potentially. He's definitely missing the final against Arsenal, and it's so unfortunate. I mean, you realise the manners in which he sustained this injury. It is kind of criminal in that sense, and it's no surprise why Sarri was so livid with what happened. And it's no surprise why the club stopped Sarri from talking to the press so he can really give his thoughts and opinions, because Sarri was feeling emotional and he was guaranteed to say something wrong. I mean, this is such a big PR game. That's the last thing the club can afford. Honestly, for me, it is devastating. Devastating news. How unlucky is he? How terribly unlucky. He's been doing so well, improving. Fantastic to watch. You know, he's definitely a player that you paid money to see in a stadium. And to make matters worse, it looks like he's going to miss out on another pre-season, and it's unfortunate. Whenever he takes one good step, there's always two bad steps that follow. Let's hope that he does come back. Let's hope that he does get lucky with his injury concerns, and let's hope that his fantastic and his world-class potential isn't going to get affected by these injuries. Now moving on to the second story for today, that's in regards to Marcos Alonso, and reports are that Atletico Madrid are monitoring him and looking at him as a replacement for Felipe Luis. Now this story has been brought to you by AS, and they're stating that Atletico Madrid are seriously considering replacing Felipe Luis with Marcos Alonso. Both clubs have a fantastic relationship, and that relationship really strengthens when we let Morata go on loan to Atletico Madrid. Now that's really all the information there is surrounding the story. It does make me remember previous reports that came out suggesting that Atletico Madrid are interested in Alonso, and for me, and you know, from doing all these transfer stories all the time, whenever I see so many different reports coming out through random times and periods suggesting that a club is interested in a player, most times there does tend to be truth behind it. So it doesn't surprise me that Atletico Madrid would be interested in Marcos Alonso. Now, what's my thoughts and opinions? Hey, it's simple. It's very simple. We sell the player. And I know some of you guys might think, but Nini, we gave this guy a new long-term contract. Who's really going to buy him? But one of the main reasons as to giving contracts to players, especially during this transfer ban period, is the fact that the players are able to keep their monetary value. Their market value still remains high, and with Alonso signing a contract extension, that doesn't mean that we're not opposed to selling him. As long as the money's right, any player can go. Now, I don't want to be too facetious and cynical. Marcos Alonso does have his merits. There's certain things he's good at, but if you want to make things very simple and break it down, we're transitioning to a new style of football. This new style of football needs dynamic, fast fullbacks that can get in behind, that can carry the ball by themselves, and Alonso suits playing more in a three at the back system. He doesn't really suit this style of play, and it's no surprise why he's been constantly struggling and we're seeing no signs of improvement. Now, if you want to adopt this new style of play, it's time to get ruthless. If it means that we have to let someone like him go, it needs to happen. And with Atletico Madrid needing to sign a left back, it means that they are looking to spend big this window. So if they do come in for Alonso, all I'm hoping for is that we don't be dumb, we don't get greedy, and we don't try and price ourselves out from a deal. But you guys in the comment section below, let me know. Do you feel as if it's wise to sell Alonso? If so, tell me why. Or if you're a fan of the player, let me know why, and let me know why we should keep him. Now moving on to the next story, and this story is quite big for news today, and this has come out by goal.com, and by Matt Law himself, and it's basically talking about the futures of Higuain, Kova, and what's happening with our transfer ban appeal. Now, starting with the transfer ban appeal, Matt Law is stating that Chelsea are still considering their actions and considering the best course of action. We haven't currently sent our appeal to Kaz, and you might be thinking, Nini, what the hell is wrong with this club? By now, why didn't we instantly send our appeal to Kaz? Well, there's more to the story, and Matt Law is reporting that the club are contemplating the idea of serving the ban. Now, this might be crazy, but there is some football sense to this, and it's basically suggesting that it depends on the players we can sign this window. If the club feel like they can't get big name targets this window, and who knows what the reasons might be for that. I have heard some small rumours that potentially, if we did send in our appeal, we won't hear a verdict until sometime near the end of July, and that's not great news for us. If that was the case, hypothetically, it would be no surprise why the club is considering serving the ban immediately, because it would make it very difficult to sign players. You know, imagine you're trying to sign a Jovic or a Pepe. It's not enough to reach a gentleman's agreement telling the players that you're guaranteed to sign them at the end. They need more guarantees than that. And who knows, what if hypothetically we try to sign big players but we're like, you know what? You can keep the player for another season, or just sign the player once our ban's over. When you also consider as well that Pulisic will be returning, and that we've got so many fantastic players out on loan that could really play substantial parts in the squad and the team, guys like Reece James, guys like Zuma, Aina, etc, etc, then for me personally, it's not that deep and it's not so bad if we decide to go through with the ban immediately instead of postponing it. Now, that gets the transfer ban news out of the way. Moving on to the second part of that story, it's talking about the futures of Kova and Higuain. Now, the reports are stating that Sarri would prefer to keep both the players. When it comes to Kova, for instance, now with Ruben's injury, there's more onus to sign the player on a permanent, but when it comes to Higuain, the club is still quite doubtful. Now, the reports are suggesting that Chelsea aren't too keen on signing him on loan for another season. That would cost us about 15.5 million, and we're also concerned to sign Higuain on a permanent deal because there are some reservations on the player. Now, you might be thinking, Nini, how can we register these guys? Don't we have a transfer ban? Now, we can get past this technically because we've already registered these guys for our squads already. All we have to do is just pay the fee to make it a permanent. Nothing really changes. Now, here's where I give my thoughts and opinions. When it comes to Kova, it makes sense. You know, if there's a possibility that Sarri is going to be here for next season, it makes sense to keep a player that already understands the club, the personnel, and the tactical system as well. Kova is versatile, and when you remember that we have Champions League football for next season, meaning that we have more games, it makes sense that you sign players like this for the squad depth. Now, when it comes to Higuain, I want to make one thing clear. I've spoken about the merits of keeping him because there's some very strong footballing reasons as to why signing him on a permanent makes sense. For me personally, was there any emotional attachment there? No, and I think sometimes that, you know, when people hear me talk, they assume that I've got emotional attachment to all the players that I might defend or critique. It's not that deep. When you consider that we have Mitchie, Tammy Abrahams, plus others out on loan, if we don't sign Higuain, it doesn't really affect things. Yeah, I gave reasons suggesting that if you do sign him, it makes sense because, again, he understands the system, he'll have more experience playing in the league, he'll have a better relationship with his teammates, you know, a pre-season could be very valuable for that, and that doesn't stop us from signing a big name striker if it does happen. But if the club feel like it's not the best course of action and they have better alternatives out there, I'm all for that and I'm happy with that. Yeah, I understand that Higuain's had his difficulties and there's definitely been valid reasons for them, but I've never suggested that he's one of the best strikers in the world. I've only spoken about the merits of keeping him for the squad. And to end things with the final story, that's regards to Morata. And he actually was in an interview by Sadina Sir talking about how he really wants to stay at Atletico Madrid. Now, as you can see in the article, he's spoken about how he'd like to remain at Atletico Madrid. He's very happy here. Ideally, if he could stay here forever, he would. He did everything in his power to stay here, and he will do everything in his power to remain. Currently, Atletico Madrid do have the option to buy at 50 million euros to keep him on a permanent. So far, they've already paid us 18 million just to have the player on loan. Now, here's where I give my thoughts and opinions, starting with the most obvious one. Would I keep Morata? No. But you might be thinking, Nini, we have a transfer ban, doesn't it make sense to keep Morata available as an option? I don't personally think so. You have to remember and consider that we have a business strategy where we need to generate transfer income by selling players. Now, we already know that Morata doesn't really complement playing in this style of football, and he's one of the few players where he still has a very high market value. And if you consider the possibility that we sell Morata for 50 million euros, we would have earned 68 million euros from Atletico Madrid for a player that wasn't too great for us and didn't really suit us. You might also be thinking, Nini, Morata's doing well at Atletico Madrid, why wouldn't you give him another chance? Well, for me, I wasn't surprised by that. Many tactical reasons for that. Let's analyse how Atletico Madrid play. Number one, they look to play balls quickly to the strikers. They use a very direct approach with their passing game to break through on goal. And most importantly, they use a two-striker system. And for a player like Morata, that's a life sin. Whenever he's done anything well, it's been when he's been playing alongside another forward, and it just makes sense. Now, Morata is good aerially, he can hold up the ball, but can he do that playing up front by himself, consistently doing that every single time? No. And we've seen that. I think it makes tons of sense to sell the player due to that market value. We could use the money to reinvest in key areas we need. Of course, good luck to him. Again, for me, whenever players don't work out, there's always valid reasons for it. But sometimes, non-human factors can be involved when it comes to players underperforming. But you guys, that's going to bring it in for today's video. Please like, comment and subscribe. As I said, if you like the video, help me get more than 1,000 likes. I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lines TV. Don't forget to check out my other videos.